Well, that was embarrassing. So after all the trash talk, the Eagles got smacked around by the 49ers in a game where the defense was absolutely pitiful, as Deebo Samuel and the Niners offense may have exposed the Birds' biggest flaw. Meanwhile, the offense had a rough day as well, headlined by poor play calling and a Jalen Hurts injury scare that had Eagles fans holding their breath. And in the end, the 49ers got a little bit of revenge while it's back to the drawing board for the Eagles, as Jason Kelce revealed a shocking truth about the team after the bad loss. Plus, AJ Brown has a crucial message for the Birds on how to move forward from this one to look ahead to what is now easily the biggest game of the year. Well, let's talk about all that and everything else from week 13, so we won't waste any time, let's get straight into it. So leading into this game, we obviously know about the insane amount of trash talk and bad blood that were between these two teams, all stemming from the NFC Championship game last year, in which the Eagles obviously got the easy win, and that just added to the intensity of this game, which was super important for the NFC playoff picture, because with an Eagles win, they pretty much had a clear and easy path to wrapping up the #1 seed, but with a Niners win, that would then make it a close race between them, the Eagles, and a few other teams down the stretch of the season, so this game obviously had some huge implications. Now, the Eagles rolled up to the game in style, while the 49ers seemed to have coordinated their pre-game fits, as they showed up in all black for what people were calling the Eagles' funeral, and as this Twitter user said, they stood on business for 4 straight quarters to rout the Eagles at home. Although that statement may not be fully true, because the first quarter actually belonged to the Eagles, as the Birds went on 2 long drives piling up 124 yards of total offense in the quarter, while the Niners literally had negative offense, actually losing 6 yards in the quarter. However, the Eagles only led 6-0 after the first quarter because they weren't able to capitalize in the red zone on these 2 long drives, which is a problem that the Eagles had earlier in the season, but they had seemed to fix it as they had scored touchdowns on their last 12 red zone drives and had moved all the way up to the 5th best red zone offense in the entire NFL, so them not capitalizing in the red zone was definitely a bit unexpected, and Jalen Hurts spoke to the Eagles' red zone struggles after the game.
Yeah, when you think about, how important it is to start fast, and I feel like we started with good rhythm, good tempo, good execution for the most part, and we just kind of weren't able to connect and execute like we wanted to in the red zone. And when you're playing a good team like that, that gets you. Every little thing matters. So much credit to them in the way that they played today and how they executed. I think for us, we just have to do a better job.
Jalen's right. When you play a good team like that, things like not capitalizing in the red zone end up costing you. Now, give the 49ers credit, like Hurts said, they were phenomenal, but the Eagles also had some self-inflicted issues throughout the game that ended up costing them big time, and these red zone issues, I think, were a combination of them both not executing and also the 49ers defense stepping up. And coming away with just 6 points on those 2 drives instead of 14 really hurt, especially when you fast forward to halftime and the deficit the Eagles were facing was 14-6, rather than it just all being tied at 14. That, of course, came after the 49ers scored touchdowns on their next 2 drives as Brock Purdy started carving up the Eagles defense and led the Niners into the red zone multiple times. The first time they actually got stopped in the red zone on 3rd down, but Josh Sweat lining up in the neutral zone gave them another play, and they capitalized with a touchdown pass to Brandon Aiyuk on a great play design. And again, self-inflicted issues did hurt the Eagles in this game, and Sweat getting caught up here was just one example of that. Now, Brandon Graham knows the Eagles got to get these things fixed, and he spoke to that after the game.
Learn from the little things that kept them in the game. I know Sweaty was feeling bad, on them offsides because, lining up in the neutral zone. We always talk about just little stuff that, could hurt us, and I know that I got his back. I know that he gonna, make it right, and we gonna be good. And that's what I like. I know that we gonna give our best shot in practice this week. We gonna keep on working.
Hopefully BG and the Eagles can learn from this and fix these issues heading into next week's game. But getting back to this game, again, the Eagles entered halftime with a 14-6 deficit after the Niners scored again on their next drive, with them having a very balanced attack as they made plays in both the pass game and the run game, moving all the way down the field for an eventual CMC rushing touchdown. And again, this is where the Eagles' red zone struggles are a big factor, because this is a very different game if they entered the half tied at 14 rather than being down 14-6, especially with San Francisco getting the ball to start the second half. And the Niners really used that to their advantage, going right down the field again to start the half and scoring a touchdown on their 3rd straight drive, that time doing it on a very well-designed end-around play to Deebo Samuel that fooled the defense, and a Kittle block helped him make it all the way into the end zone. So just like that, it was a 21-6 deficit for the Eagles, and honestly, what was really disturbing about this was how little resistance the Eagles defense showed ever since those first 2 drives. Luckily, the Eagles offense answered the call on their next possession, really getting going with a nice 3rd and 7 conversion to AJ Brown to pick up 13 yards. Then they got another big gain, this time of 15 yards to Devontae Smith, and then Smitty caught another pass, this time for a gain of 13 yards, and Dre Greenlaw kind of got in his feelings as he decided to then pick up and slam Devontae to the ground after the whistle in dirty fashion, drawing a 15-yard penalty. Now, Smitty took exception to the dirty play, and so did some guys on the Eagles sideline, including head of security Big Di. Dom. And from there, we have one of the weirdest situations I have ever seen since I've been watching football unfold. And don't worry, we're going to get to that and a whole lot more in just a minute, but real quick, I want to say, if you're enjoying this video or finding it informative in any way, and you're part of the 75% of people that have yet to do so, make sure you go down right now, subscribe, and also, really importantly, turn on notifications so you don't miss when any other videos just like this are uploaded. I think that's a win-win for the both of us. I mean, I get more people watching the videos, and you don't miss any other Eagles content just like this. And also, while you're at it, if you are enjoying this video, make sure you drop a like. I'd greatly appreciate it. And now with that being said, let's get back into the video. Now, after this kind of dirty play by Greenlaw, him and Smitty went face to face, and Big Dom wasn't having it, as he just kind of pushed Greenlaw off of Devontae to break up the scuffle, and he also said something to him as well, which Greenlaw didn't like, so he kind of took a swipe at Dom. And after all this played out, both Greenlaw and Big Dom were ejected from the game, and what honestly is one of the most weird and interesting things I've ever seen in my time watching football. Now, Kyle Shanahan clearly took exception to this whole thing.
I didn't get to see it all from where I'm at, but when I start hearing people explain it to me and stuff, and I just can't believe someone not involved in a football game can taunt our players like that and put their hands in our guys' face. And from what I was told, Dre did it back to him, and I was told that he kind of mashed him in the face a little bit, so he got ejected. But it was a very frustrating play.
Meanwhile, it seemed like a couple Eagles players were pretty frustrated that Dom actually got thrown out.
I saw Dom get booed off. That kind of pissed me off, to be honest. I was just like, why is he getting kicked off? And there was so much commotion going on and not really understanding. We were trying to ask the refs, and the refs weren't telling us anything. And then I just heard one of the side judge was like, yeah, why isn't he going off? And I saw him pointing at Dom, and then I just saw Dom walk off.
It was one of those emotional games. You know, it was words being said. I think he said something, and then what's his name tried to swing on him. I mean, hey, at the end of the day, it's one of those things where you got to control yourself. And I mean, I hate that both of them got ejected, but that's part of the game. And I know that, you know, Dom, if you know Dom, you know he ain't putting hands on people. And, you know, I know that he gonna learn from this too.
Now, I feel like I need to say this because everyone's kind of losing their minds about this whole thing. I understand the point that people are making and saying that someone like Big Dom should never get involved in an on-the-field situation because him getting kicked out has absolutely no effect on the Eagles from an on-the-field perspective, while someone like Dre Greenlaw getting ejected for the 49ers actually hurts them quite a bit. So, trust me, I do understand the point. My only problem is there's people acting like Dom did something horribly wrong here. Like, he didn't start anything. It looked like he was just trying to break up the scuffle, and Greenlaw didn't like what he said, so he kind of took a swing at him. That's why Greenlaw got ejected. It's because he hit Big Dom in the face, regardless of if he meant to make contact or not. You can't do that, and he got himself ejected for it. I mean, if he did that to anybody else, the same thing would happen. He would get ejected. It just so happened that it was Big Dom that he actually ended up hitting. And if he didn't do that, I guarantee neither one of them gets ejected, and nobody's even talking about this. So, I don't know. That's just my opinion. I really don't mind Dom standing up for his guy after a dirty play and just kind of separating the two. Now, if he started a fight, that'd be completely different, but he didn't do that. So again, that's just my opinion, and I'm sure I'll get hate for it, but whatever. But regardless of your opinion on it, that got the Eagles fired up a bit, and they capped off this nice drive with the classic brotherly shove touchdown, in which things got heated again after the play, this time between AJ Brown and Charvarius Ward. So safe to say, there were a lot of emotions running high at this point, and with this touchdown, it was a game once again, as the Birds were now only down by 8 points. Unfortunately, they weren't able to pull off yet another comeback, as the rest of the game was really all Niners, as they answered on the next drive with a 48-yard touchdown by Deebo Samuel, where Nicholas Morrow missed a tackle, and he was then off to the races, which, by the way, missed tackles were something else that the Eagles defense really struggled with in the game, and we're not really used to seeing that from them, and that cost the Eagles big time in this game. So BG spoke about that in the locker room after.
A lot of guys wish that they could have it back. Even when me and Morrow was talking when what's the name, Deebo scored off the missed tackle off he had, and we just know that it was just one of them games that, dang, you know, they got us. And, you know, like I say, much respect to them. I know that we're going to come back ready to go tomorrow. We're going to learn from it, see how they was hitting us, and you're going to see the little things that caught up to us, you know, the penalties and crucial moments where and then can't get off on third down, you know, that was big. But yeah.
Like BG said, it was just kind of one of those games, so hopefully the Eagles can figure out all the little things. I mean, they're going to need to going into next week's game, but getting back to this game, the Eagles' next drive is really the one that killed them, because they not only went 3 and out, but Jalen Hurts took a big hit after a 5-yard run. He then went into the medical tent after after the play before going to the locker room as he was being evaluated for a concussion. Which then, of course, your mind goes from, can we somehow come back and win this game, to, I don't care about this game anymore, please just let Jalen be okay. Which thankfully he was, as he cleared concussion protocol, and he came back out onto the field after the Niners had scored yet another touchdown on their next drive, so the defense was really getting killed all game. Then Jalen subbed back into the game after Marcus Mariota had made a few plays, and he led the Eagles in what would be their final touchdown drive of the game, in which he connected with Devontae Smith for a 2-yard score to bring it to a 2-score game. But the Niners then iced it on their next possession, scoring a touchdown on their 6th straight drive, this time with yet again Deebo Samuel catching a little screen pass and running it 46 yards for the score without even being touched, where he then waved goodbye to the Philadelphia crowd he had talked so much trash to for the past 11 months. Overall, what a pathetic showing from the Eagles defense, and just in general, what a pathetic game from the Eagles. They ended up eventually losing the game 42-19 in one of the worst games of the Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni era, and it was for a multitude of reasons. One, like I just said, the defense was horrible. They had no answers for the Niners after those first 2 drives. The tackling was bad, there were blown coverages throughout. The pass rush didn't get home nearly enough. It was just an all-around terrible performance by the defense, and that was partially because of the creativity and motion of the Niners offense, which according to James Bradberry, really screwed up the Eagles' communication and created a lot of confusion on the back end.
I think they did a good job of using motion to their advantage. Of course, as teams motion back and forth, they do jets and whatnot, especially pre and post snap. That kind of plays with the communication. We just got to see everything the same way on the back end. There's a lot of things happening, and we didn't see things the same on the back end. I feel like that's what led to some of those busts.
Safe to say, the Eagles got to get that and a lot more on the defensive side of the ball fixed moving forward. But credit the Niners and Kyle Shanahan for their creativity on offense that confused the Birds' defense. And I wish I could say that the Eagles' offense did that to the 49ers' defense. But of course, once again, the offensive play calling in this game was just bad, and it really cost the Eagles in this one. I mean, first off, yet again, they seem to not want to try and establish a consistent run game at all in the first half. DeAndre Swift specifically didn't get the ball nearly enough. I mean, this guy's a playmaker. How does he only get 4 first-half carries and 6 carries total? That should be a crime. I do not care how good the Niners defense is at stopping the run. You have to stick with it and try and establish it to make your offense more dynamic. But that's just one thing. But secondly, the amount of times the offensive line held up in blocking, but Hurts couldn't find anybody downfield was absolutely ridiculous. I mean, I think a lot of that has to do with the routes the receivers were running taking too long to develop. At least that's what the guys on NBC Sports Philadelphia were saying after the game, and they were also saying how if they ran some more slant routes or quicker routes across the middle of the field, that could have been more effective in helping Jalen actually get the ball out of his hands quicker and into the hands of his playmakers. Sadly, we didn't see a ton of that, and as a result, the Eagles really didn't get much going over the middle of the field at all in this game, and that contributed to the offensive struggles. I also do think it really hurt to not have Dallas Goedert in this game, who, honestly, I think could have been in line for a huge game as he thrives in that area over the middle of the field, so hopefully they can get him back next week. Either way, it was just a poorly coached and poorly executed game from the players just all the way around. I mean, it was just a bad game from the Eagles, and after the game, Jason Kelce spoke the shocking but not so shocking truth about this 10-2 team.
Yeah, I mean, we're not good enough right now. I think that obviously disappointed in the way we performed, and didn't get it done today. But we still got some games left, a lot of football to learn from. I'm going to watch this tape, and I still have the utmost confidence with everybody in this locker room on both sides of the ball. This game doesn't do anything to sway that.
I mean, he's honestly right. The Eagles just aren't good enough right now, and they need to get these things fixed if they want to get where they want to go. And now next week, they have what is undoubtedly their most important game of the season versus the Dallas Cowboys, where if they win, they have a clear path to the #1 seed, but if they lose, they would then fall all the way down to the 5th seed. So, coming off this embarrassing loss, A.J. Brown has an important message for the Birds as they attempt to bounce back in their next game, which is absolutely crucial.
Since you've been here, there hasn't really been a loss like this in this fashion. How do you get by it? How do you get over it so quickly?
How you get over it?
Yeah.
Sure, you have no choice. Mope around and be sad and be mad at yourself about it. But we got a big opponent coming up next week in Dallas on the road. You gotta put your big boy pants on. In life. Everything gonna go your way every single time. If you think you're gonna go out there and just win in life every single time without a blow, it's not gonna happen like that. So
He's right, they have no choice but to get over it and just move forward. And overall, honestly, maybe this is what this team needed. I mean, they kept barely winning these games despite making a good amount of mistakes, and eventually playing with fire is gonna catch up to you, and that's exactly what happened in this game. So now they just gotta stay extra focused and move on from it while holding themselves accountable, which the Eagles are clearly doing. I mean, they're definitely not making excuses.
You look at yourself in the mirror and say that they were the better team. We didn't execute, we failed to execute, and didn't capitalize on the moments that we had.
10-2. all right, let's get it. The main goal is winning every week and trying to get this bye for the first round, and we gotta beat the Cowboys next week, and so. Much credit to the 49ers, though.
Now, in addition to the accountability, the Birds also got some external help, as linebacker Shaq Leonard officially agreed to sign with them for the rest of this year as of Monday. What probably happened is he looked at how the defense performed on Sunday and realized that they needed him, so he's decided to come to Philadelphia, which is fantastic news because, again, it was made clear, especially in this game, that the Birds needed some additional help at linebacker. Shaq will provide that, and even though he hasn't played at the level that he once played at, which was obviously an all-pro level, he's got to be better than what Christian Ellis and Nicholas Morrow looked like on Sunday. Hopefully, he's the much-needed boost the defense was looking for, although I will say he definitely doesn't even come close to solving all their problems. But going back to Sunday's game, to the Niners and the fans, congratulations, you guys clearly were the better team and deserved to win the game. The Eagles honestly played like crap, there's no excuses, we just gotta hope that they can bounce back from it, get better, and they're still able to wrap up the #1 seed by the end of the season, and maybe, who knows, we'll see the Niners again, and the result will hopefully be different. But regardless, now they just have to be locked in on this super important matchup with the Dallas Cowboys that's gonna have huge ramifications for the eventual playoff picture. And if you don't want to miss any coverage regarding that or anything else on the Eagles throughout the rest of this season and beyond that, make sure you go down, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Also, drop a like on this video if you did enjoy it, and leave a comment down below. What did you think of the Eagles' loss to the 49ers? And also, if you want to watch another Eagles video, you should go check out this one right here. And now, with all that being said, that's pretty much all I got for this one, guys. So thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.